Hi everyone, it's me Puzzle, and surprisingly a few new materials about Dying Light, the Beast, have recently appeared online. Among them were interview excerpts with the developers and impressions from a journalist who saw the demo showcased at the end of summer. I went through all of this, and as a fan I wanted to share it on the channel. I've gathered the latest information and details that hadn't been published before, and I'll talk about it in this video. We'll cover the nighttime gameplay, new locations, the nature, and the city that used to attract many tourists. Enjoy watching. Let's start with some interesting questions from the interview. Most of them have been asked before, but one question that stood out was, where is Castor Woods, the new setting of the game, located compared to the two places seen in the previous games? To which the developer answered, I think it's definitely closer to Villador. Generally, the Beast takes place after the events of Dying Light 2, but to be honest, we don't really focus that much on making sure that it's placed somewhere in the world. What we want to do is we don't want to recreate a very specific place. Why? Because if you live in that place, if you know that place, you basically know the game, right? We are trying to build a fictional space that makes sense for our game and for our narrative, but it's just inspired by various things from a specific area. In this sense, Castor Woods is closer to Villador because both share a lot of European inspirations. In the same interview, the journalist asked the developer to tell a bit more about the Castor Woods zone, the new location in the series. The developer responded, Castor Woods is located in a valley. There are different areas that you can explore. There's a town that was previously a tourist destination but is now abandoned, and there's an industrial area. There's a lot of woodlands, a lot of farm areas that we can explore, and it's very dense. In fact, we changed the approach to building the areas quite significantly compared to Dying Light 2. This is much more handcrafted, and there's much more attention to detail. We have the best of the best people working on it. By the way, I wanted to mention that about half of the team worked on Dying Light, and having Roger back gave us so much energy and excitement that it's a very beloved project for us. Another question touched on the RPG elements of the game, and it went like this. Dying Light 2 was way more of an RPG than the first one. What about the Beast? Is it more like the first one, or is it still an RPG? The developer answered, I actually think it's something else. I think with every Dying Light game, we're trying to look at the zombie apocalypse and do it in a slightly different way, find a different balance for quite a different take on the narrative and on the world, but also find a different balance and use different elements for building the gameplay. I think what we are trying to do with this one is give it a more survival feel. You should really feel that you struggle against zombies in this world to survive the next day. In that regard, I think it's closer to Dying Light 1 than to Dying Light 2. A reference for you can be the first initial hours of Dying Light 1, where you enter Heron and just have a weak weapon and every zombie is a problem. Even though Kyle Crane has changed and is a different, more seasoned, more experienced character, the world around him has also changed for the worse, so now he's back to the moment where he is fighting to just survive. The journalist didn't stop there and asked a few more intriguing questions. Something that I was thinking about is that there are some similarities with Dying Light. The following, that was also a standalone DLC, and you had vehicles in that game too. How are you balancing vehicles in this case? Because the main focus of Dying Light is always parkour. What we want to do with every Dying Light project is try to find something new in it. We understand what the core, the essence of Dying Light is, and each game experiments to grow them in different directions. Because the overall theme of Dying Light, the Beast, is about surviving and survival. Surviving those 13 years of experiments and surviving in this world, the survival aspect is very important. We have also applied this to the vehicles, so it's not something that you can drive around mindlessly, smashing into everything and crushing it however you want. It's also almost like a character in that you have to take care of it, repair it, make sure that it's not damaged, that it has fuel. So that's one way how we can balance the vehicles. It is important because on the other hand, we're also going to give people more options to do things in the world. Imagine being chased on foot. Usually you run to the safe zone, but now you can run to the vehicle. Or when you're being chased, you can also use the vehicle to get away faster, right? But the zombies are even smarter in this game, so they can do things to the vehicle. We understand that vehicles give you a little bit more power, but we balance it through mechanics, making it more immersive, more realistic, and more grounded. I found a very interesting article from MSN.com where they share their impressions from a gameplay session and talk about nighttime dangers in the game, details of the demo they were shown, and much more. Yes, some of the info is already familiar, but this interview also brought in a lot of new elements. I'll leave these notes in the first person to make it sound more engaging. Here's what the journalist shared. We watched a member of Techland's QA team play about 40 minutes of The Beast at Gamescom. The mission returning protagonist Kyle Crane was on seemed simple. Break into a facility and learn about the Baron's experiments on the infected, all under the guidance of a new character named Olivia. Fitting to Dying Light's nighttime gameplay, the infected were extremely dangerous, but the demoist managed to sneak through and get to a safe house, completing a small puzzle to set it up. It was something any Dying Light fan should be familiar with, but the vibe was on par with the following instead of the safe houses of Villador. The woodlands were very dense, and that played to the advantage and disadvantage of the demoist. The danger felt very real, despite there being no controller in my hand. Afterward, Crane proceeded to one of the Baron's facilities, taking out his men silently before breaking out into a full-blown gunfight. Both sections showed stealth, and parkour were just as vital to the gameplay as the game's melee and weapon-based combat. Notably, the demo did showcase a lot of gunplay, but franchise director Timon Smektala assured us that while it was an option for players, the heart of Beast is still melee. He explained that obtaining ammo was difficult, honing in on the survival elements of Dying Light, although it's worth noting that Crane seemingly had plenty during this demo. On the inside, Crane was also able to interact with this new gas that could lure the infected. There were a lot of loud roars heard from the facility throughout this infiltration, with Crane finding the equivalent of a jail cell busted to pieces. As Crane finds one of the scientists, he learns that the Baron was experimenting and testing a new strain related to Chimera's freaks. Crane must then carry a gas container to a truck and go out near the woods to lure out this freak. The truck gameplay was short, but it was clear that gas was limited and so was its durability. Still, players will no doubt enjoy being able to run over zombies. Each bump looked like a lot of fun, as running over zombies always is. The final boss of this mission was a gigantic freak lured out of the nearby woods, with Techland using the change to show off Kyle Crane's new beast mode. Obtaining by building Fury from melee combat, this sees Kyle Crane become much stronger and violent, capable of getting up in the freak's face and meeting it blow for blow, despite being on death's door many a time so far. Crane's beast mode also lets him pick up heavy objects nearby like giant rocks to throw at enemies, and it helped bring the fight to an end. Notably, it seemed Crane extracted a blood vial from the freak when all was said and done, but why was not explained. Throughout this demo, we also saw new environmental interactions, new immersive updates to its graphics and lighting, and one dynamic encounter ensuring that Castor Woods retains its own identity when posted up against Harran and Villador. While a lot of the excitement around the game is because Crane is back, it seems the overarching story and gameplay are going to be the ultimate payoff of the Beast transition from DLC to a full standalone game. There are still a lot of questions left to be answered. How does Beast Mode grow and change from this point? How does the Beast skill tree modify the entire game? And how do all the new story elements, characters, and gameplay components fit into the larger world of Dying Light? However, given the game was just announced, this demo served as an incredible appetizer, and as you can see, this all sounds incredibly exciting. Although the developers didn't share actual gameplay footage with us, we are already starting to get a picture of what to expect. And honestly, it looks insanely interesting. What do you think, folks? Share your thoughts in the comments, and please subscribe to the channel and give a like. This was Puzzle with You. See you in the next video.